Ron Bumblefoot Thal, welcome to Romania.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show, and I can't wait to come to Romania on September 3rd for the concert. It's going to be amazing.
You know everything already. You're on air, so it's a lot of people are listening to you. They want to know how come that somebody could work with Axl Rose for nearly 10 years, precisely 8 years. You just tell me, please.
Well, some people might be wondering how he was able to work with me.
Maybe. You should tell us. We don't know. We want to find out.
Well, I started chatting with everyone in Guns N' Roses in 2004. They were looking for a new guitar player. It was 12 years ago. And another guitar player, Joe Satriani, recommended me. So they reached out, we started talking, and then it wasn't until 2006 that they had a tour ready to go, and we met up in New York. We jammed only 7 times. We got together and then hit the road for 3 straight months and just kept going and going and going and going until 2014. It reached a point where I just felt like I needed to get back to doing my own things. And I did a new album called Little Brother Is Watching and started doing a lot more touring and a lot of workshops and everything that I was doing before Guns N' Roses, a lot of producing bands and everything that just made me feel like it was why I became a musician when I was 6 years old. Everything, that 6-year-old child inside of me was alive again. And that's very important to keep throughout your life.
So from your 6 years old, you wanted to be a musician?
Yeah, actually 5. I heard the band Kiss, the Kiss Alive album, and as soon as I heard it, I knew that's what I wanted to do. So by the age of 6, I had a band together. We were recording. I figured out how to do multi-track recording using multiple cassette players where one would play while the other records, and you play along with it and then do it again. And we would put on concerts in my basement at the nearby school and just never stopped.
Till now. And how was it to play with Lita Ford? Because
Lita Ford.
You're a guitar player and you work with Lita Ford. She's a lady guitar player. You work together on the same stage.
Oh, yeah, it was wonderful. We did a lot of harmonizing guitar solos in her songs, and that was an interesting one. It was 2009. She called me from the stage at the Sweden Rock Music Festival in Sweden, and she asked if I was free for the summer and that she needed a whole new band. And in 2 days, I managed to get a band together, and we flew down and rehearsed and hit the road all summer. So I've sort of become the person that people ask to do the impossible, and I find a way to get it done.
So you can do the impossible. A lot of people is asking me, Teddy from London is having a salute for you. Hi, Bumblefoot, and they want to know...
Hello, Teddy.
How come this nickname of yours? Because the people doesn't know that you have a real name too.
I do have a real name, Ron.
Ron.
And Bumblefoot, Bumblefoot, it started off, my wife is a veterinarian. And years ago when she was in veterinary school and I was helping her study, one of the diseases, ulcerative pododermatitis, also known as bumblefoot, one of the treatments for this disease, it was a disease that turkeys get. And one of the ways to treat it was to rub hemorrhoid cream on their foot. So when I heard all of this, it was so ridiculous that I wrote a song called Bumblefoot. And then a few years later, I had my first record deal, and I called the album The Adventures of Bumblefoot and named every song after a different animal disease. And then a few years later, I had my own record label, and I had the band on the road and everything, and the music was very Frank Zappa, kind of quirky. So the name Bumblefoot fit as a band name. So for almost 20 years putting out music under the band name Bumblefoot, but I was doing the lead singing, the lead guitar, the songwriting. Pretty much I had the ball and I was running with it. So it was more like a musical nickname. But it started off, it was an animal disease that became a song, that became an album, that became a band, that became me.
Yeah, I see. Your sense of humor made you work even in the Muppet Show?
I could. I have a voice like a Muppet.
That's why I'm asking, but you have a real sense of humor, so you can use both.
Oh, sure. I try. Yeah, I mean, humor is one of the most beautiful things in life.
But
they say that music is healing, but so is laughter. And I try to keep a lot of both in my life.
But you portrayed thunder in a meat puppet.
Oh, the movie Meat Puppet. Okay,
yes.
That.
Yeah, you did that.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have been in a couple of horror movies as an actor, and also
you like the horror movies?
Oh yeah, I've loved them since I was a kid. Absolutely. Love horror movies.
Somebody's asking you. You were born in 1969, the year of Woodstock. What do you think about the festival?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there. I was only about 3 months old. Actually, no, I was only 6 months in the womb at that point, so I missed it. But I heard it was wonderful, and I've gotten to see videos, and I would have loved to see Hendrix at the age of -3 months, but I didn't get to. But yeah, no, it was a life-changing festival as far as music goes. It carries on to this day. It's an iconic moment in musical history.
It is. Simona, she's a metal fan, and she says, you lived in Brooklyn. How did that influence you?
Oh, growing up in New York was a big influence. First, hearing the band Kiss, they were a local New York band, and hearing bands like Twisted Sister and the Ramones and Anthrax. These are all our local bands that were just doing great. So living in Brooklyn, living in Staten Island, the different boroughs of New York City, and as time went on and different music happened, it was a wonderful place to be. Everything was very open. There was a lot of music. There was a lot of life. I got exposed to hip-hop as, hip-hop was first coming to life. And I had a studio where I would record a lot of the different hip-hop artists. So that had an influence. All the local New York punk bands and metal bands and everything that I grew up seeing and hearing. All of this has definite influence. It becomes it's part of your DNA. You can't remove it. And it becomes the building blocks of who you are. I always say that every single thing that inspires you is like a brick in the structure that you are. And every once in a while, when people look at that structure, you can almost point out a brick and say, oh, I see where that came from. I see where this came from. You can see the inspirations. So definitely growing up in New York, it was wonderful.
That's why Vicky is writing here, Ron, you are the best. You see? You didn't come yet, and you are the best already. So that's great.
Well, hopefully I can live up to that, and
I hope too.
Keep that title for her, Vicky. You are the best. Thank you.
So you have a list here, your favorites, and it's a very interesting list. You like Engelbert Humperdinck, and at the same time Tchaikovsky, Iron Maiden, Tom Jones, Busta Rhymes. You like everybody.
Well, sure.
Is it true? It's your list, or somebody did it for you?
Well, oh no, that's a real list. I mean, it's the kind of list that will change every 5 minutes depending on the mood you're in. But yeah, this is all real stuff. Each one of these things,
yes,
is something that had an impact, and that's what it's about. When you hear something, see something that leaves a lasting impression. almost like a story was told to you that you feel like you need to share back to other people in some way. And that's what happens when any kind of artist affects you. So it's, not a linear, narrow thing. It's everything. I've heard, a Chopin piano piece and was moved by it, and then tried to learn it on guitar, and that became part of what I do. And I might have heard Busta Rhymes spitting out these super fast raps and everything, and inspired me on some of my songs to do the same kind of thing. And then Iron Maiden, who doesn't love Iron Maiden? Come on.
I don't know.
That had a
Maybe the students.
So I'm sure there must be somebody that doesn't like Iron Maiden, but I don't know them.
Yes.
And I don't want to know them. But yeah, so even Iron Maiden, listening to, I remember hearing Bruce Dickinson for the first time. I was so skeptical when I heard they had a new singer. I loved the Killers album so much, and then I heard The Number of the Beast, and hearing him as a vocalist along with Eric Adams from Manowar, and Tony Harnell from TNT, and Ian Gillan from Deep Purple, and Robert Plant from Zeppelin, and all these singers that made me want to expand my own vocal range. Rob Halford from Judas Priest. So that affected how I sing and how I wanted to tell my own story. I wanted to tell it in the way they told it to me, that I found it moving. Same kind of thing.
You have another question. Alina is asking, have you ever met Ace Frehley or Gene Simmons?
Yeah.
Or Gene Simmons?
I have not only met Ace Frehley a number of times, but we played on stage together along with Peter Criss in New York City, and we did a bunch of songs together. We did Lover All I Can, we did Rock and Roll All Night with Peter on the drums and Ace on guitar, and me and Frankie Bello, the bassist of Anthrax, singing. And we did the song Hooligan off the Love Gun album from Kiss, which Peter Criss told me he hadn't done that song in 31 years. That was the first time he had done it since then. So, yeah, I've not only met Ace Frehley, but I've had the pleasure
even you worked with him.
being on stage.
Do you think
we got to do a show.
Do you think Gene Simmons is right when he says the rock is dead?
Absolutely not. Rock will never be dead, and I can tell you why in one simple reason. If you look at physical music, and when I say that, I mean someone that wants to master physical technical abilities of an instrument, such as drums or any classical instruments or guitars or anything like that. The most recent, most developed version of that, and when I say that, I'm talking about growth that includes technology, because it is technology that brings out new styles of music. The most recent one, the final one that we have, is rock music and metal. So you find that when most people, when they want to learn a physical instrument, they want to learn how to make physical music, they're going to go toward that. They're going to go to rock and metal. Anyone who doesn't want to do that, if they want to program sounds and MIDI them up and everything and do electronic music, that's something different. But if you want to spend 10,000 hours studying music theory and working your limbs and digits to the bone, you're going to go towards rock, metal, or something before it. I mean, of course, there's jazz, and there's
so he's alive.
Bluegrass.
So rock is alive.
It'll
always alive.
Yes, and if you don't believe me, you can go to any school of rock across the country, music schools across the world. I visit them all the time, and they are full of children to adults, and everybody is inspired and very passionate about it.
I'm happy to hear that, because I agree. Yeah. I agree with you, not with Gene Simmons. And
I think Gene Simmons might be referring to the economy of music.
That's true.
The economy of music has changed, where the numbers that were there 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, you can take 2 zeros away.
Yes.
What was $50,000 of an investment or maybe $50,000 of a return is now
without 2
$500.
zeros, $100.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, for real. That's pretty much the numbers.
You have now a new band from last year, Art of Anarchy. It's a new band of yours. It's your project is working till now.
Yeah. So Art of Anarchy is a band I had with the late Scott Weiland. It started off actually about 5 years ago. It's these two brothers that they started the band. They were friends of mine that I used to record over the last 20 years. I was their producer and friend. And they wanted to make their dream album. And I brought them into the studio, and they recorded 10 songs, and then I laid extra guitar parts on there. And then Scott Weiland laid all the vocals, and John Moyer, the bass player of Disturbed, laid all the bass, and it started becoming something more. At that point, Scott Weiland decided that he wanted to just focus on doing his solo material and didn't want to be part of the band. He didn't even want to be considered part of the band or anything. And it started moving forward. We found a new singer from the band Creed, Scott Stapp. And for the past year, we've been working together writing songs and just developing the new sound that we're going to have with him and letting it truly, organically become whatever it's going to become.
So you'll have an album.
Yeah, we write together and we're recording. The album is over halfway done. And we should have a single out and a video very soon. And we'll take it from there. And by next year, assuming all goes well and everybody is healthy and functional, we'll have a full album out next year and should be touring.
You have this project, Little Brother is Watching. What do you mean by that?
Yes.
Who's this little
brother?
brother? He is somebody's big brother or somebody like that?
Yeah, we are Little Brother. So Little Brother is Watching is the name of the album.
I see.
And it's the title named after the song Little Brother is Watching on the album. And it refers to where we are now as far as we are living in the sequel to George Orwell's
1984.
vision.
Yes.
Right. He pictured this omnipresent surveillance type of governmental, all-seeing thing that watched over everything we do, but no one predicted that we would have the technology to watch and expose and to share in the palm of our hands, literally. Yeah. So collectively, we are a whole bunch of little brothers that form this giant worldly entity.
You're
and
right.
With that comes a lot of pressures. If you feel all eyes are on you, you might feel like you need to be perfect and you need to always be at your best. And with that, there could be a lot of pressure, whether it's a girl on Instagram that's going to take 1,000 of the same picture until she sees the right one at the right angle and post that one. Or a musician that has to do a show and is worried that every little bit of humanity and imperfection is going to be scrutinized and crucified on YouTube and things like that. So it really makes us look at ourselves, because the truth is, it's how we judge ourselves that we feel the world is judging us by. Like, it's our ability to forgive ourselves and to, I wouldn't say excuse ourselves, but to allow ourselves to be human and imperfect and to embrace that. So I think that's where we are now, is that we've reached a point where if everybody can be watched and exposed for who they truly are, the good, the bad, and everything in between, now it makes you face who you are. And either you're going to crumble under the pressure, which the only pressure is from within, or you're going to say, you know what, it's liberating. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what people say. They're going to say whatever they're going to say, and the only thing that matters is how I feel.
That's right. It's a last question from Christina. She is living in Belgium. You said you wanted to play bass when you were a child. Why bass? Usually you end up playing bass in a band if you are not a good guitarist. I never heard someone who wants to play bass at first.
Okay, well, the way it started is...
Is it true?
Well, sort of. It's not completely true. It is and it isn't. Here's what happened was, so way back I was 5 years old, and I knew I wanted to make music, and I wanted to give back this incredible experience I was getting from just listening to that Kiss Alive album, the energy, everything from it. I wanted to make people feel as excited as I felt about it. So I wanted to be a drummer. I wanted to play drums. But my older brother also wanted to be a drummer. So he said that, well, you know, we're going to do a contest. We're going to do a drum roll on our knee, and whoever can do a faster drum roll should be the drummer. And I was not even 6 years old yet. He was 8. So, of course, he was more coordinated and did a better drum roll. So he became the drummer. So at the time, I thought that of all the characters of Kiss, Gene Simmons seemed like my favorite character. And he played bass. I was like, all right, I want to play bass. So when it was time to start taking music lessons, my parents, they took me to a music store and said he wants to take music lessons and become a bass player. And they looked at me, and I'm this tiny little kid. A bass is taller than I am. My arms wouldn't even be able to reach the span of a bass from end to end. So they lied to me, and they said, in order to play bass, you have to start off by playing a kid-size acoustic nylon string little guitar for 2 years. And after those 2 years, then you can switch to bass. Which even at that point, I thought that I was getting lied to. But I was like, all right, if this is what I need to do, fine. So I was tricked into playing guitar.
That's good for us, anyway. And we're glad to know how it happened.
Yeah, but I had one goal, which was to make music, and it didn't matter what tool I was using. It was about a song, and I wanted to give people songs the same way bands gave me songs. You know, I would hear a song from Queen and just be amazed. The Who, any bands that were around at the time, Blondie, Billy Joel, Yes, Jethro Tull. There was just nothing but amazing music in the late 70s. And I wanted to give that back. I wanted to do the same thing. So it didn't even matter to me if I played bass or guitar or if I sang or whatever it was, as long as
it was music.
I was with a group of people where together we gave someone that experience.
That's the important. Thank you very much. Yeah. We'll listen to Bumblefoot with Little Brother is Watching, and we will watch you when you come to Romania in September anyway, and we'll meet there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so
very much.
I look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much.
It was great for us to listen to you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Anytime.